So thank you very much for joining me. Today we have Ashley Tinker, and she's the owner of a beautiful profile on Instagram that is called Curious in Provence.
Yeah.
So in my journey, this is the photographer journey, what I do is that I look for everyone that inspires me, and I try to understand why they inspires me and to learn their stories.
Okay.
So welcome, Ashley.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So can you speak a little bit more about your profile, how it started, how it's going?
Well, it wasn't exactly what I had originally gotten into with photography. My first love in photography was always black and white portraiture. So what I do on the Instagram profile, which is Curious Provence, is completely different. It's all about the beauty of Provence and the lifestyle, the slow life, and la dolce vita ou la vie est belle. So I show a lot of landscapes about in the Luberon region and the Alpes regions particularly, and just the beauty of Provence in general. So this could be anything from small architectural details to landscapes to portraits of producers and so on.
Because you are a photographer,
Yes.
you do photography for your main job?
Yes.
Okay, so this is going to be very interesting.
I do multiple things. So I'm a photographer. So what I do is I work a lot with tourists who come here and they want to take beautiful portraits in the olive groves or lavender fields or sunflower fields. So I do a lot of couples and family, and I also have an odd niche where I have a lot of people contacting me who want to propose somewhere spectacular. So I kind of have to hide in the bushes and capture the moment, the real moment. So it's quite exciting. And then I also do all kinds of different commercial photography, such as I do all the Instagram profile and pictures for Chateau Gastier Rosé, which is the rosé, beautiful bottles. And I do fine art too, as well as painting. And
Oh,
I'm a tour guide.
so
I do it
so
all.
it's very clear. It's very clear that the photographer journey is a journey that is looking for the beauty around ourselves, also in our inner side. You know, when you feel beauty, beauty is outside, but you can feel also inside, and it's a sort of circle where you grow the same things. Looks like you have a very good taste and good sense for the beauty because you are looking for all these kind of things.
Mhm.
But in at the origin, you are not French.
No,
You are
I'm Canadian. So
Canadian. Yeah.
I'm born in French Canada to English parents. So I'm an English person from Montreal, which is odd, but it happens. So I do speak French, but I learned most of my French here actually, which is means I don't have the Quebecois accent, which is a very strong
So
accent.
you moved in France. I don't want to be in your personal life, but you moved in France
No,
because
fine. It's all on my blog anyway. It's all
yeah,
I have a website as well called Curious Provence, and a lot of people ask me about my journey here because they're curious to do
yeah.
perhaps the same thing, to move here. So yeah, we moved here 7 years ago to the south of France with no job, not knowing what on earth we were going to do. So I didn't even know that I wanted to do photography because I had studied photography for quite a while, and I think after so many creative fine art projects, I needed a break. So I didn't do much photography for a few years when I first came to France, and then I kind of got myself back into it.
This is something very interesting because it's almost the same story that I have. I'm not professional photographer. This is something like my side project. I have my everyday 8 to 5 job that I keep having,
Mhm.
waiting for the moment that I can skip it. But
Yep.
yeah, it was the same for me. I was doing photography at the beginning, and after, when I moved here to France, I think when you move, you have a lot of things to do that you really don't focus about something like photography or something like this.
Yeah.
But in my case, what made me buy the camera was to waiting for the lavender field. So I said to myself, I cannot miss this occasion this year to go to the lavender field and shoot some photography. So yeah, you had these kind of things. And when how you started to do photography? Because I will explain to you a little bit how we go through the photographer journey. The photographer journey is how we start, because sometimes we have some feeling that is inside of us that makes us feel. In my case, I think is yours the same. The sensibility for the beauty. We like things and we would like to, I don't know, to capture, to share something like this. And after we move through a different path that bring us in a different places, and this is the amazing things of the photographer journey, because everyone has a different way and a different story, and this is what I am interested. So how have you started doing photography?
So I started probably when I was 15, really getting into photography, and up until up until I moved to France, I only did film photography. I never touched a digital camera, so I was a purist. I went to a high school where creativity wasn't very encouraged. It was more doctors and lawyers, and you need to be one of those. So I think I was the only person in the school that did much painting and photography. And then I went to, at age 19, I got the opportunity to go to a tiny studio, an art studio in Florence for a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I lived in Florence for a year, photographing residents of Florence. So I got up the courage to ask an Italian people if I could take their photos on the street. And they were all very confused. They all thought that I wanted a photo of myself. I was like, no, no. So after that, I went to university in Montreal for fine art photography, and that was all medium format and large format, black and white portraits, and also a lot of nude photography, which really inspires me. We have a big nude photography festival here in Arles, which is wonderful, in May. So, and then I've completely switched to doing a lot of landscapes and color, and it's my journey of photography as much as my journey in everything else, and that I have many interests that kind of combine in one. So I love all types of different photography, and I love all types of different being creative in general. So just collage or pottery or gardening, anything that's creating, I love it.
Yeah, looks like it's a very straight path. I think I see that you always loved photography. Always, also if it was maybe difficult, because for sure there are a lot of difficulties doing this, but you had a clear idea in mind that photography was your things to do.
Yes, but I also I used to say, and now I've kind of amazingly made it a reality where I could be a photographer one day of the week and a painter another day, and working at the market another day. And this is kind of what I've created for myself. And this is a joke I used to say to people, probably a teenager, but it's kind of happened that way.
And it looks like it's a wonderful way of life, because you are enjoying. I don't know. I have the feeling, especially this year, that here Provence makes you feel and gives you the opportunity to really enjoy your everyday life, like in the countryside. This is what I come back from the market this morning after a long time, looking at the flower, having the madeleine, living. I don't know, it's a sort of bohemian life where you enjoy the sun and everything. And I think you are really enjoying, and this is the reason why I think this information, this feeling that you have, is very well transmitted in your Instagram account, because a lot of people do the same things. A lot of people travel, take picture and everything. What is the difference between people that works well and people that share the emotion and people that don't share the emotion? Is because people feel really that emotion. So I think there is a difference.
I couldn't be false in anything that I did. I have too much pride for that. I think one thing I don't lack is enthusiasm. So I tend to not do things I don't like to do. And then the things I do like to do, I've got tons of enthusiasm for. So I'm hoping that comes through. I don't do very personal, long captions about my personal life, which is something that a lot of people do on Instagram. And I wonder I'm always struggling with that. I don't know how much I talk about just Provence, how much I talk about me. It's kind of an interesting dynamic. I'm not sure.
It depends, in my opinion, about what you want to share. Because what I'm trying to do with the photographer journey is to explain to people that they can, if they are struggling or not, also because sometimes you are not struggling, but you need to see the things in a different way. So photography helped myself to see the things in a different way. When I was completely blind, let's say, I was not looking at the beauty anymore. Using photography helped me to start to look at the simple things, like take a photo of one flower, take a photo of one sunset, take a photo of something like this. And depends what you want to share, because sometimes I'm much more personal, something like, okay, yesterday was a very bad day, but I have this flower in front of me, or I saw this picture and everything was good. And sometimes this is what I'm doing much more now, is only just to share how much beauty it is around of us. And don't stop yourself in front of Netflix, but go outside and
Well, I think that's particularly poignant in relation to what's been happening recently with the confinement here in France, and how our lockdown was quite strict, compared to other countries. So we were allowed to go in a kilometer radius around the house. So what we did is basically just went for long walks every day. And my Instagram was basically just pictures of flowers and trees and little lanes, and people really appreciated it. And I got a lot of wonderful messages of people saying, please don't stop sending these gorgeous little details of life that are so beautiful. And a lot of people say, oh, maybe this confinement makes us appreciate the beauty more. But I feel like I always have. But I don't know. It's interesting.
It happens the same things to me. I was doing my 1 kilometer radius walk every day, and I was lucky enough to pay attention of the flower that were blooming at the time. And I was doing the same things. I was taking snapshot on Instagram, and people say the same thing. Say, "Oh, please keep going," or "Where are these beautiful flowers? Looks like you are in a tropical place, and after it's around your house."
Yeah.
And here, where we arrive to one of the things that I propose on the journey is a sort of meditation. So what I have understood that photography can be also meditation. Meditation is a way to be present, to be at the right moment. Don't go in the future, don't go in the past, but focus on the moment and enjoy. When you say capture the moment, this is not only taking a snapshot and save on the memory card, but try to live. I don't know if when you do your photography, when you do your content, you also try to live as much as possible. You have some techniques that you use to live as much as possible the moment.
Gosh, well, when it comes to social media, I never post in the moment. Like if I'm in nature, I will take pictures and then I will go home and post. I need to think about it. I need to take lots of photos and then kind of curate afterwards what I want to share. So I do enjoy being in the moment in that sense, not being stuck to a phone or a camera all the time. I used to, before I had a smartphone, I used to only take photos when I had a project. But that's things different now with having a phone on you all the time. But sometimes I do have to go and just go for a walk without a camera, just to kind of remind myself of the beauty of nature and this place, without having to document it all the time, because that pressure can be immense to always be posting, always put something up, so.
Yeah, so we go back to your profile on Instagram. I think I see that you have a lot of followers, 26,000. How did you grow? It's not a matter. I don't want to speak about the numbers, because numbers are important and not important. But when you have good numbers, means that you are doing a good job and you are inspiring people. This is what is very important, in my opinion. But how did you do these kind of things?
I
How
don't
it grows like
really.
this?
Well, I think a lot of them come through my website. So I have, when I first was in Provence, I wasn't making a lot of money. I didn't know what I was doing. And so but I had time, and I had time to research the local area. And then what I did is I wrote a lot of articles on my website. I probably have like hundreds. So my search engine optimization on my website is very good in terms of if you look for Provence blogs. And I think through that, people start following me on Instagram. And what I did is just a lot of interaction with people that also are hashtagging Provence, and constant. I try and do a post every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I try and do some stories, especially recently. I try and do some stories every day. And I think it's very slow, but it grows very slowly. And the best thing is obviously being featured in magazines. So I've been in a couple like small French publications, or publications about expats in Provence, and that's helped a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the other things, because when it becomes to the photographer journey, you should do always network, because network will be the place that makes you be part of something else, or maybe having new ideas. It happens to me yesterday that one girl that I met proposed me something very nice to do on the lavender field on the next
Wonderful.
month. It
Yeah.
is, but everything comes to networking. So do you do something, or you just leave your life happen to you?
I used to do more at networking. It doesn't come naturally to me because I'm kind of a home person. um, Gosh, what networking do I do? I think I did collaborations with other websites often, where you post on theirs and vice versa. But that is actually something I need to work on, is doing more networking. So thanks for reminding me.
Because what makes me want to contact you, that I saw, and I was very envious of you, that you have a bottle of wine with your name.
Yeah.
And this is something that is amazing.
Yes, it is amazing, especially because I love wine. So
Yeah. So having a bottle of wine dedicated with your hashtag, with your name,
and
is
it's
something
got
that is.
lavender on it. There you
Yeah.
go.
So how did you realize these things? What happened to
Well,
do?
the vineyard that is at the base of Mont Saint Victoire in Aix, it's got a gorgeous vineyard. It overlooks
Yeah.
Cézanne's mountain. They had an idea last year that they put out to influencers, and they asked, "What was your favorite moment drinking rosé in Provence?" And so there's all kinds of different ideas, and how do you pick one? Of course, and but for me it was in the lavender fields, because I am with my photography photo shoots. I'm working like crazy in the month of July. I'm usually in lavender fields probably twice a day, sunrise and sunset.
Yeah.
So I've had a lot of memories, because often we'll drink a glass of rosé at the end of a photo session. So that was my moment, and I just happened to get picked as one of the 6 influencers that would have a moment and a bottle dedicated to them. So my name, Curious Provence, will be on, I think, 80,000 bottles. So that's pretty.
Wow. I
Yeah.
should go for having one.
Yeah.
We can buy on their shop or internet.
Yes, they have a shop online, and
Yeah,
for the month of June, if you use Curious Provence 10, you get a 10% discount
good.
buying the wine. I'm also their photographer, so that helps. So what we're doing is actually recreating all the bottles in real life with the influencers and props and scenes. So that's going to be really fun. I've already done 2 photo shoots, and one at the base of Mont Saint Victoire with an old camper van, and another one by a pool in the Luberon, and the next one is in the Calanque. So,
Wow.
mhm.
Okay, so and let's continue the photographer journey. At one point, usually we have sometimes there are some difficulties. You know, sometimes everything looks that is going very well. At one point, we receive some news that we don't want to receive, or some feeling that we don't want to have, and it happens something to you also, and maybe you had some moment that where things were not going very well, and you had to, you know, to show your power to continue the journey.
In terms of photography or in terms of life? Both.
Let's say in the photographer journey, usually, as example, I give you my example. At one point, I stopped completely to shoot photography because I was not feeling fulfilled. You know, I was looking for, I was shooting just to publish my photography on internet and waiting for people to say, okay, you are the best photographer in the world. And this was not happening because and I said to myself, okay, stop, it's not, I will do something else. And after I realized that I had to change the way how I was looking at the photography. And this is where everything started.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I've had the same experience. I think I've always struggled with doing commercial photography because I was originally only did fine art photography, and in the fine art school I went to, they kind of really stuck their noses up at commercial photography. But it's something that I had to do because I had no contacts here. When you move to a new country, you can't just. I couldn't feel, because I'm not good at networking, and I couldn't feel that as an artist I could put myself out there and try and earn money. So what I did was commercial photography. But I think sometimes people have put negative comments, and it just surprises me how angry at life some people can be sometimes. You know, I've had people say, "Oh, you know, why would you put a photograph up where you had such a low depth of field that only a small bit's in focus?" And it's just like, you know what? You know, if you don't like it, I put so much time and effort into what I do, then don't look at my stuff. You know.
So, your life should be very, very bad if you have time to say, okay, this photography is not good.
Yeah, or recently I had someone say, "Oh, you put too many stories. That's disgusting." And it was, you know, meanwhile I've got tons of lovely messages from people saying, "We love your story." So, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, no, but this
you can't win.
this is actually when people say these kind of things, you have two different ways. This is what I'm trying to do with my community. If there is a constructive comment where you say, okay, Riccardo, you tried to explain this, but it was not clear at all, and do again, and okay, thank you. But if someone say, okay, Riccardo, you speak too much, or your English is very bad, okay. I don't know.
Constructive criticism, perhaps, but yeah, no. I don't want any negativity really when it comes to those things. But I think back to struggling with photography, I think I go in motions, or what can I say? I go through periods where I'll go and I'll take a lot of photos, but then I won't want to take any photos for 2 weeks, and then it kind of flows and ebbs. And because I also do painting, and I find the painting is exhausting in a different way, creativity.
Yeah.
So I can only do like a couple of paintings a week. I can't do more, you know. And it's the same with photography. So it can, after a photo session, I find it very exhausting, because not only do you have to think about, you know, where people are positioned, keeping the vibe up and happy, thinking about, you know, the aperture, thinking about composition. It's a lot to think about. So yeah. My own lesson to myself is try not to overdo it, which I always do. I don't do anything in half measures.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think I really feel what you're saying, because especially when you are outside, when you do shooting with people, you know, people are not model. Usually, normal people are not models, so they don't know what to do. Sometimes they get upset. Sometimes couple they have strange dynamics or something like this that you have to understand. And
yes, the couple dynamics are very interesting. So yeah, you can tell a lot. I think photographers are almost keepers of secrets, because you can see a lot by people's body language when they're in front of the lens, and how they're reacting with each other. Their relationship is. and then afterwards, when you're spending hours looking at the photos and looking at these people, it's interesting. I think a good advice to people is be nice to your photographer, because they can.
Yeah. They can share your secrets that they have understood.
Yes, something like that. Well,
Good. This is what while we are discussing, there is an exercise that we do with the community. When you start in the photography journey, you put your backpack on, and in your backpack you put different things. I don't really care about technical things, about cameras, lenses, these kind of things, because
neither.
my camera is different from yours, my needings are different of yours. What it is very interesting to me for every photographer is that in the backpack you put some things that tell about yourself. So I say 3 things that tells about yourself. So in my case, it will be something like a pick for the guitar, a keyboard because I am an engineer, and I don't know, maybe a flower or something like this that remembers me the beauty. I don't know if you ever tried to do this exercise, but it was very fun. Maybe only just pick one that can define you.
Well, my problem is that I hate bags. I'm not a normal woman. I hate purses. I hate being laden down. So I have the least amount in my bag as possible. My boyfriend's always complaining at me that I'm not a normal girl and that I don't have a Kleenex or something, or when needed. So I think to me, it's more my home space and what I have that surrounds me, that rather than what I take with me. I used to be I used to be a diarist, and I used to write every day in a diary. And when I was traveling in Europe and in Italy, I would sketch and write and put photographs in it. And that is something that I kind of miss. I need to do again. But yes, I don't know. Gosh, for me, it's books. I love, love, love books. I surround myself with books. So when I travel, I will never buy a Kindle, or I will never read anything online, because I need, I don't know why, the tactile material of a book on me at all times. So that's probably would be the thing that I would travel with.
This is very interesting, because when I moved in France, and it's something that I saw back after several years, while I was traveling alone, because I was discovering this place, and I said to myself, okay, in your journey, bring with yourself a camera that will make you a step ahead, because you're always curious about doing something more, or looking something more with your camera. Bring yourself a book, because when you are resting, it's going to be with you. And keep the music, if you can, with you, because it's going to help you every time. So this is very interesting. And so we arrive at the different things. The photographer journey is a journey looking for the beauty that is just outside and inside of yourself. So I always ask this question that is very difficult, but what is the beauty for you? How do you define beauty?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. I think beauty lies in imperfection. So, for example, I had a photographer come here from Australia last year, and he wanted me to help him find locations and models to take pictures in Provence. And it was a fun, interesting day. He hired makeup and all kinds of stuff, spent a lot of money. And then he sent me the photos after, and I really, really didn't like the photos. And it's because he airbrushed out all of the natural beauty marks of all the models. And I just thought it was such a shame. So when it comes to portraiture, I think it would be imperfection. And I suppose all photography. I don't like landscapes that are too vibrant in color, that have been kind of digitally manipulated to too much of an extent. So I like really natural portraits. I like really natural landscapes. So I think beauty is in whatever is natural, perhaps, and imperfection, and obviously in the eye of the whole holder. Obviously. So yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky question.
And what is your feeling with this auto recharging that I say? Because for me it's very important. You know, when you look for beautiful landscape, you come back at home, and in a sort of way you have this energy that you had from the beautiful landscape coming into you. You know, it's something like, okay, it was maybe a strange day, but I went to the Saint Victoire. It happens to me every day that I go there, and when I come back, I say, okay, wow, it was so beautiful that today I feel that a little tiny part of this beauty is inside me. I don't know if you feel the same things.
Absolutely. I think even, exploring in general and creating feeling proud that you've created something beautiful, captured something beautiful is an important part of my everyday life. So, yeah.
Okay, so at the end, I think for people that does this kind of things, the big difference between success or not, I don't want to say success in the way that you feel fulfilled, because it's a very dangerous what we say, because success can be 1 million of follower or 1 million of euro in your bank, but you are not happy with your life, so it's not going to be
Of course, it's all relative. Yeah.
so first of all, you feel fulfilled of what you do, you love what you do.
Yes.
And this is
Yeah.
a very and this is a very important thing. And I think because you find, at least what I have discovered to myself, you find the reason. So there is the first question that I ask to everyone that say, I want to do photography. And I say, why? Do you have your why? Have you found your why of photography?
Other than being just compelled to do it, not really. My why. Gosh, I don't know. I think it's why does anyone do art? I think it's something that calls you, something that is inside you. It's also something that you allow to flourish, something that needs practice, and you need to allow yourself the time to develop it. For example, you feel a lot of pressure as an artist to make money, make money, make money. So it's very difficult to say to yourself, no, actually, I'm gonna make less money and try and put more effort towards this project, and maybe something will come of it. And I think that's very difficult, especially coming from North America, where it's very capitalist. And people, when I was in Italy, I remember people, when I told people that I was an artist, they would be excited. There'd be a wonderful, smile on their face. In Canada, they would say, "Oh, how do you make a living?" That was the first thing that they would say. So it's very different culturally. I think European society is more open to that. And then something else I struggle with is also the need to your art needs to be monetized. So sometimes I feel almost guilty spending time sketching on an evening when I could maybe be doing an oil painting that's more sellable instead. So that's something I struggle with on a daily basis too. But what can you do? Work on it.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah. No.
lottery. I could just no.
No, this is another good topics about monetizing things, because when you do things, especially the artist thing, sometimes you do it because you feel that you need to do, and if people pay or not, you really don't care. Except that one point you have to pay your bill, and you have to understand what you can really do and what you're not. Maybe you can find a balance or something like this, but it's a very dedicated topics. Is not very easy. So let's go to the end of this interview. People can find you on internet, on your website, and on your Instagram. Could you please remember us where you can find?
So I have a photography website that's called Photographer in Provence. And I have a website that is kind of like a blog where it's a lot of articles about Provence, what to do in Provence, and the expat experience. And that is called Curious Provence. and all the other, and Facebook and Instagram are also Curious Provence.
Okay, so just look for it and maybe find it for a bottle of wine. This is, and I think your season is going to start right now, much more. You're gonna, with the photography outside, with the wedding things.
Well, unfortunately, because of the current circumstances, a lot have been canceled. A lot of my photo sessions. I would have been crazy busy right now, but alas, I'm gardening instead. And exploring. So what I'm going to be doing this year, because I know a lot of people that wanted to come to Provence aren't able to this year, or they would be, or their trips might be later in the year. So I'm going to be for free putting lots of photos and stories about exploring Provence to bring joy to people around the world that will hopefully, that had to postpone their trips, and then that will hopefully lead to an even busier year next year, where I'll be meeting people from abroad. And
good. You said your why. You have not realized. You said you would like to bring joy to the people, and I think this is what.
Yeah,
This is
probably it.
this is the things I think that you are sharing with your profile. This is the reason why I wanted to contact you. So thank you very much, Ashley, for this conversation. I wish you a very nice photographer journey and see what happens to you. And so thank you very much for everyone that is going to look at this video, to listening for the podcast, and contact Ashley, because you will have a lot of information, a lot of photos, stories, and everything that will bring you joy. Thank you very much, Ashley.
No problem.